If we got hit with fighters, what happened? Did you fire at them and all of this? And if you were firing at them, they would, what happened to the other guys? And they would gather all of this, and you would be getting credit for your firing at some of the enemy aircraft, and they would determine whether you were going to get credit for that aircraft if that aircraft was reported to was shot down. And in April of '26, this incident, we got hit with German jet aircraft, Me-262s, near Munich. And at that time, they hit us, and we lost, right away, they hit us from the back. They came in through in the front real fast. They made a run around 180 degrees and came in low, and I could see them where I was. They coming in low, and the fellow that was next to us on the right-hand side, all at once, it took off above us, it got hit. And the empennage, the so-called tail section was all, it got hit there with a rocket, I guess, or cannon fire. And so they went down, and you're looking at this with glimpses, you know, to see what's going on. And I did see something like parachutes, and actually there were two guys that got out of it. There was Reese's plane, and the rest of the guys didn't get out of the airplane. And the tail section was bent, so it got hit there. Of that aircraft, 09, real red 09 on the vertical stabilizer. And so I'm in the tail section looking at all of this happening, and one of the aircraft, the jet aircraft, decides to go right in front of me to the right and take off to the right for some reason. And I'm firing at it, and right at the body of it. And as I followed through, and I had tracers going up to it also, and there were tracers going around with some of the other aircraft. And while I'm looking at it, the back end of it had a big, large explosion. And it, the jet almost stopped, you know, slowed down, had an explosion, and then I turned around to look for the rest of the aircraft that were fooling around there. And it was all over. So that was the end of that. But interrogation, they decided that we lost, I think, 5 aircraft. And the Germans lost probably of these Me-262s, they lost some also. These reports going back to interrogation, you really can't tell how many they lost, because you might say, well, I was shooting at one, and you didn't know whether that you got credit for that one, or other guys were shooting at it, and so that comes out in interrogation. So later on, in the reports that came down quite a bit later, I was involved in the credit for one of them, and it's probably this one that I was firing at. So then, this was April, the last part of April of '45. And so, shortly after that, because of the weather and that, and the Germans were having feelings that they want to give up. And if you remember, they tried to get rid of the Hitler at that time. Some of the generals of the German army were trying to stop the war, to save Germany from destruction and that didn't really occur until, as the war progressed, the Russians came into Berlin and everything was happening rather fast. We hit